Hi, my name is Nadia Eftedal, and I'm going to be continuing with the topic of efficient movement. This is now part 3. In part 2, where I spoke about centering, the topic was keeping the upper center and lower center moving together as one unit so that the movement stays organized and stays efficient. The important point to remember is how we develop, and that's what I'll be discussing right now, because at no point in time do we ever want to put the body in a state where we become held, tight, stiff, or rigid. We're always looking for movement to be fluid, but also organized. So my next step is to discuss the flexible spine. And the way I'm going to be doing that is by having us sit on a chair. And when we sit on the chair, I sit at the corner of the chair so that I can keep my 2 feet on the floor, and I'm sitting on the corner of the chair so I can also feel my tailbone, my hips planted firmly on the chair. And the first thing that I want to do is start having a sense of freedom here in the spine. And the way I'm going to do that is by starting to slide my rib cage left and right. The human skeleton allows that the rib cage has some mobility, so sliding left and right should not be painful, but an easy, gentle movement for everyone. From here, I'm going to start with a wave action. And the wave would look like this. I start by lifting one side up. I continue to stretch far over. I'm going to collapse the one side as I stretch the other side and move across and down. So I have the sensation of first being in neutral, that can slide left and right, and then the flexibility begins by lifting one side of the spine, and the rib cage is higher than the other. I can continue to slide and now make a change. I drop through the side, lifting and creating this waving action from right to left. I feel a lot of motion under the last rib cage, under the last rib bone. I feel a lot of activity within my body. The second thing I'd like you to do is now, again, establish your neutral position, and then what I'd like you to do is start with the idea of rotation. So, from neutral, while my bottom is planted firmly on the chair, I'm now going to come out of neutral and start to rotate. I rotate the rib cage, the shoulder blade, the hands, and the arms. I could even create an extension if need be. I come back to neutral. I'm going to start to rotate, and perhaps you can see that as I rotate, again, there's a bit of lifting that happens through my back. It's reflected through my neck and through my head, and I rotate. And I come back. Now, if you're doing this with me, my question is, what do you feel happening in your feet? As I'm moving from left and right, I can feel that my feet increase in pressure down to the floor, which facilitates the sensation of lifting the spine. Third, I'm going to create a circle through my spine. So, I have the movement to the side. I'm going to contract and roll quite far back. Continue to move to the other side, lifting and stretching through the rib cage, and then I'm going to arch my back, let it reflect through my head and my neck as I go forward and come back to neutral. So I'm creating a circle. I move to the side, contract and roll back, to the side, arching through the back and the head and the neck, and then I roll and return to neutral. My question to you at this point is, what do you feel happening with your bottom as we're moving around? I'm sure you could feel that your sits bones are moving with you. And of course they are, because everything is connected. So we have three motions here. First is the wave, lifting the spine and stretching it. The second is creating rotation by being able to hold the head still, lift and rotate the rib cage and extend through the arm. And the third is simply allowing the spine to move in a circular fashion. The important thing here is I did not teach you anything about your feet or your pelvis. I'm simply pointing it out to you that there is a natural reaction that as we're moving the spine, that the feet increase the pressure against the floor and the pelvis naturally works in a counterbalancing position. Now, one thing I want to point out, why am I doing these exercises? It's also to help you get a sense of what control you have within your own body. Because as we're dancing a wave action, I can make it bigger or I could make it smaller. I could put a rhythm to it. Ba, ba, ba. And the importance of sitting is so that you stop moving your hips, you stop moving your legs, and you feel a new type of freedom. And I sincerely hope it is a freedom through the relaxing of the muscles, but activity. You have activity through the spine. So we can have a big, slow wave or a smaller, more rhythmical wave. The same thing with the rotation. We can create a large, sweeping motion, or we can keep it here, here. I only turn the parts of my body closest to the spine. Bum, 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 bum. So, at this point in time, I'd like to take us out of the chair and bring it into our dancing. So now that we put the chair aside, and now we're going to bring flexible spine into our dancing. And a great example would be the samba. Because as I stand here, one of the first things I want to be able to do is start to activate my body in the direction where I'm moving to. So hopefully you can see by the movement of my body where my foot was going to go. Bum, 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 bum. If I was doing a step like the cruzados walk, that would involve the rotation and then the step, come to neutral, rotate, then the step, rotate. So these two movements are exactly identical to what we did in the chair. Another way of saying it is, well, is this Cuban motion? Well, Cuban motion is a very exact way of moving that is familiar to our international Latin and American rhythm styles. And what it means is that we have an exact and precise movement of the upper body with a smooth ball flat action through the foot and leg. And in order to create this Cuban motion, whether I'm going forward or sideways, or even if I need to turn my body, I need to have that ability through my spine so it can lift and it can rotate and it can turn. So, my hope is that you will find some freedom in the spine, partly by the exercise we did in the chair. But let me just give you one parting thought. When I was in high school, we used to have a high school prom, and kids in the prom used to dance this way. Okay? But here in the ballroom world, when we start learning to dance, we actually dance by doing things like this. The difference is, when we are learning to dance, we learn from the feet first and then move up the body. But when we actually execute the dancing, we dance from the top down. So, the flexible spine is so important to fill out your dancing, to make it smooth and polished and much more graceful as well. I hope you have a nice time and have fun.